We have Christianity, the culture that led to your having these freedoms and this beautiful life and all that. And you have issues with this. You have anger and all that directed at this religion. And then we have Islam, the religion which is the most oppressive religion in the world, the most destructive religion in the world, that is also threatening to take over your society. And you're like, oh, we don't want to talk bad about that.
Why do lefties love Islam? Why do they love radical Islam? What is it about a group of people who think that murdering is a good idea that makes lefties feel like, oh, we have finally found the truth? Well, I have my own thoughts on this, but so does this guy. And my friends, let's hear it from the actual source.
The thing is, I remember 10 years ago, there was this whole idea that, wow, Christianity is dying and atheism is rising. Soon everyone is going to be an atheist. Look at the statistics and all that. And
look how rational we'll be.
yeah. And
Pregnant men. Wait, what?
I
How
mean,
do we get to that?
before he even starts, just the fact that atheism is seen as like almost enlightenment is so unbelievably sad. It's also condescending to our entire history of people who really, really fought for God and believed in God. It's not an archaic and old concept. It's the truth. There is a reality to the fact that we as human beings are spiritual beings. And it's so sad that it's become just, oh, you believe in God? You must be secondary. You must be less educated. You must just not really understand the way the world works. Kind of sad.
it quickly got out of hand.
Yeah, like that escalated quickly.
Yes.
That line from Anchorman.
Yes. And the thing is, there's also this hypocrisy, which I noticed from my own side as an ex-Muslim, where you have these non-Christian or ex-Christian atheists who go out and talk about how bad religion is, but then when the topic of Islam comes, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on.
Isn't that wild?
Let's not be bigoted. Let's not be Islamophobic. It's like, wait a minute. So we have Christianity, the culture that led to your having these freedoms and this beautiful life and all that. And you have issues with this. You have anger and all that directed at this religion. And then we have Islam, the religion which is the most oppressive religion in the world, the most destructive religion in the world, that is also threatening to take over your society. And you're like, oh, we don't want to talk bad about that.
Look, I don't know what he's about to say because I like to watch these live, but I think this is exactly it. It's cognitive dissonance. It's an inability to actually handle the fact that Islam believes what it believes. It's just, no one can wrap their heads around the fact that there are actually people who believe this stuff, which is why they're always looking for somebody who they can understand. Like Israel, oh, they're just an oppressive, colonizing state that just want the destruction of the Palestinians, instead of understanding that this is, oh, so much bigger. The fact that no one, I love this idea, the fact that no one will call out Islam, like our people are so afraid of being Islamophobic. What's the Islamophobic word for Christianity? I know that the word for Judaism is anti-Semitism, but by the way, look at the difference. Islamophobia, Islam as a religion, it's an idea, and phobia, a fear of an idea, versus the Jewish alternative, which is anti-Semitism, anti-hatred Semitism of people who are Semites. They've managed to brand that. Their whole propaganda thing, they managed to brand it into being fearful of an idea. How could you be Islamophobic versus being an anti-Semite? Why don't you hate the people? It's amazing. They've thought this branding out from beginning to end.
Seriously? This doesn't seem very rational.
Yeah,
And
it is interesting.
and there are lots of people, to be fair, in the new atheist sphere who have spoken about Islam and who have criticized Islam and who have acknowledged it, but it's always just, oh yeah, that's a secondary or issue or a lesser issue. And when you actually speak about Islam and are critical of it, you get lots of leftist atheist pushback. Like, I mean, they to this day, the atheist leftist circles are calling on and trying to cancel Bill Maher because he doesn't like Islam. Like, so many people just
Isn't that wild? Leftism and Islam.
yeah.
Like, what a weird bedfellows.
It's one of the most sophisticated, amazingly thought out propaganda initiatives of all time. And FYI, if you like the content that we're talking about, I'm Ira. This is Radically Rational. Please subscribe, comment, like, do your thing. Let's get the word out. A rational commentary on what's really going out to the masses.
It is very, very...
What accounts for that, do you think? Is it demonic? Is it that And I don't know how far you are down your Christian journey, so you might not be comfortable with that language, but I wonder if both leftism, at least at the far fringes of it, and Islam are both enemies of Christianity.
I would say it comes down to some simpler explanations, which are that it has a lot to do with people being just stupid and ignorant. And
I read this meme once. It said, everything happens for a reason, and sometimes that reason is you're an idiot and don't think things through or something. I like that.
Accurate.
Now, there is among the leftists and the atheists, I have to say, as much as they spread lots of dumb stuff, dumb ideas, there is one thing that is very common and very dominant among them, which is that they often try to argue from a place of a very emotional compassion and a very misguided and misplaced sense of feeling bad for the others and for the minorities and all of that, and feeling like the Christian traditional guy at home, he's the bad guy, and those other minorities, no matter who they are, they must be the good guys. Let's protect them.
I think this is so important to talk about. It may sound, because I was laughing, that I have something against people who are atheists or left-wing. And actually the truth is I don't. You're allowed to have your own opinions on stuff. But what's important to realize is that actually so much of the negativity that we see online comes from a good place. It comes from a want for people to be free and a want for people to have good lives. And it is a real true want, and it is really, really important. The thing I think about more right-leaning people and people who are religiously affiliated is that they believe that for that to happen, you have to follow some kind of moral code, and you can't just make it up. The problem with making up how to treat people is that sometimes there are people out there who have better thought out opinions. And this is something that we're seeing. Okay, Islam has really, really thought out opinions on how to manipulate and how to shift narratives in a real way. And so when you have lefties who really genuinely feel strongly that they believe and they support humanity, they don't realize, because of that almost naive belief and because of their want for the emotions to dominate, they don't realize what a mammoth of a company and organization they're up against, and the level of manipulation that they're dealing with, and the fact that a lot of people don't feel that way. What's interesting about Judaism, and by extension Christianity as well, is that those emotions of goodness are actually really important and integral. We have tithing, giving of our own charity. We have so many things in our religion that focus on creating a good lifestyle, family homes and marriage rules, and things that really, really do focus in on us building a good world. But the problem is that when you think you're enlightened and you think that you're the only one who understands, or you're the first group of people to understand, you don't realize that you're fighting against something that's much, 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 much bigger than you.
Very stupid idea.
Do you see that among the left towards the Jews?
No, because...
And why?
Because the Jews have become because the Jews are successful people. They're successful people. They're integrated people. They do very well. They are often economically, educationally, intellectually, and so on, doing even better than the local traditional Christian population, white population. So they stick out as those who are better off than anyone else, which is why they don't deserve your compassion for those who are treated unfairly.
You know what's so sad is that if you see somebody successful, there's two ways to bring them down. Either you bring them down, actively bring them down, or you go above them, right? And instead of people looking at the Jewish people and saying, whoa, what do they have? Why are they succeeding? Why is a people who's been persecuted and who suffered so much historically and to this day, from every direction we're persecuted, how are they still successful? Maybe they have a world plan for dominion and therefore we must bring them down. Or maybe they're doing something right. Maybe we should learn something from the Jews. Learn about resilience, learn about dedication, learn about trying to succeed and to improve the world. And it's such a shame that people take the flip side of this, that they refuse to look at the Jews as something to learn for, but rather as something negative, a parasite on society. When you say things like, oh, the Jewish people have won more Nobel Prizes than anybody, it's like, oh, the Nobel Prize system must be rigged. But it could also be that, wow, thank you, Jews, for your massive and huge contribution to the world. thank you for not just accepting the status quo and for doing things to move society forward. But it will never be that, because it doesn't work in the victim society. It doesn't work in a mentality in which instead of you needing to do the work to grow and to succeed, you'd rather make sure that everybody's brought down so you can feel better about yourself. And so they hate us for it. They hate us for being successful. But the secret to our success is not that we've managed to manipulate or rig the system. It's that we're really resilient and we've spent thousands of years working really, really hard on our moral conduct and our understanding of the world. And we have a book divinely from God that tells us how to operate. Successful in business, do you know how many Jewish laws we have about business, about ethical operations, about how a person is supposed to deal with money? It's unbelievable. If you actually just research it and if you can apply it to your life, you will have success too. But this is something that people don't like. It just doesn't fit into the underdog narrative.
And those who don't have it very well. So you have to always, even if the worst people are at the bottom, and they are at the bottom because they stick to very horrible ideas and horrible things, you have to see them as the good guys who deserve your protection. This is basically the leftist mindset.
You know what's funny is that this is a perversion of Christian compassion.
Yes.
So
This is Christian.
this came from Christianity, and it's been distorted. Hello is the #1 prayer app. Why haven't you got it yet? Download it right now. Go to hello.com/mattfrad.
This is what Tom Holland argues, where he basically argues accurately, I would say, that much of the culture that we have in the West today, including the leftist culture, the liberalism, and all of that, is basically a perversion and distortion of the good values that people took from Christianity. It's the understanding each other, the seeing each other as equals before God, the compassion for the less fortunate, and so on. These are Christian values that
Rooted in
people
Judaism.
who are anti-Christianity take from Christianity without understanding that this is what Christianity gave them, and then they hate Christianity in return for perceived injustices within Christianity. It's so ironic.
Well, I don't think it's ironic. I think it's more complex and sophisticated than this. Well, first of all, it's amazing. There's a book of morality, the Bible, the Old Testament, that's been morphed into the New Testament for Christians, right? Which provides us a book of moral ethics. But before that book, there was no such thing as morality. There was no such thing as moral conduct. It didn't exist. It was brought into the world first by God through the Jewish people and then changed and manipulated, which is not what I believe in my religion, that it's been shifted into Christianity. But Christians do believe that. By the way, Islam's the third step. They believe that it was shifted and changed into the Quran. Okay? And so that is where morality comes from. The idea of not killing, the idea of not raping, not that Islam really actually believes that, but all of these ideas, they come from religion. And so in the name of religious ideals, people will go out there pushing narratives that they think are actually anti-religious, because religious is not a source of perfection, okay? It is an ethical and lifelong journey of people who have to work very, very hard to get things right. And it's interesting that people who do hold religious values are actually held to a higher standard, right? You look at somebody who's religious when they do something wrong and you think to yourself, that's worse than somebody who is atheist, who doesn't have morals. And it's amazing to realize that in our subconscious, there is an understanding. And I think this is a big part of why there's almost so much hatred towards the Jewish people, is that there's an understanding that the Jewish people have a responsibility and an obligation. And if they're not doing that, then they're really, really subverting what their responsibility to the world is. And I think that's subconscious. A little bit deeper than just irony.
They think Christianity is bad, or Christian culture, Christian tradition is bad, it's unfair, it's mean. But they basically criticize the Christian culture and the Christian injustices and unfairness from a Christian perspective without understanding that this is what they're doing. It's the Christian culture that gave people freedoms. It's the Christian culture that brought forth what you call liberalism. What the democracies that we have in the West, the human rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is based on a Western Christian mindset. These are Christian ideals that were perverted and distorted and are now used against tradition itself. It's dumb, it's stupid. And unfortunately, Islam is a perfect culture or a perfect religion and a perfect culture that will happily take advantage of this. And come here and say, yeah, cool, cool, cool. You guys keep doing that. You guys keep tolerating and attacking each other while we increase our numbers and start imposing our own laws and our own issues. This is what's happening in the UK, basically, and in other European countries. Wow.
Look, they're really, really taking the strengths of a society and using it against them. It is unbelievably sophisticated. They look at Israel and they see, oh, they're divided internally. Okay, let's break that division. They look at America and they say, oh, they care about freedom. Let's use that freedom against them. They come for each country, see the cracks in the society, and they target those cracks. And it's a very, very clever strategy, but it is, at the end of the day, a strategy that leads to one goal, in which, at the end of the day, radical Islam dominates. And that, I'm laughing, but it's not funny. That is a problem. Anyways, thank you for being here today on the Radical Rational Show. I'm Ira, and I will see you in our next episode.